Hey guys, so we just got back from the Smash Bros. Developer Roundtable, and like usual, we're going to talk about everything we saw, or some of the things that stood out to us at least. And we're again joined by Ash, Derek, and Tom. Now, of course, some of the biggest news to come out of it is Pac-Man is in the game, as we predicted numerous times. So I was really happy to see that. One, because we're right, and two, it was awesome. Like they did such a great job with the unveiling trailer, which is now online for anyone to see, and just like everything they're doing with Pac-Man, like from his appearance to his moveset, just looks really cool. So yeah, let's start off with what did you guys think of seeing that? Seeing Pac-Man in Smash Brothers.
It's great, honestly. Like it's better than I ever could have imagined. I mean, we couldn't really think of a way to make him work as a fighter just in his classic form, and they even found a way to work that in, which I think is the coolest thing about this, is how they worked in his classic form with his little dashes, with his little pellet throw, and how they can sort of arc that to go along to people. That's really awesome. And then it was like mind-blowing to me, because we were talking about for a while how there might be like Namco exclusive something like assist trophies or something like that, and it turns out nope, it's just Pac-Man all along. He can summon Namco at will.
Yeah, which is really cool. I honestly was super happy with the reveal, and because I had kind of predicted this from the beginning. I was like, Namco's working on this. If Sakurai said he wanted Pac-Man, Pac-Man's in.
Yep.
And two, just because like you guys have said, they really could not have done it any better, in my opinion. Of course, I know a lot of people's fear was that they would use the modern Pac-Man and the Ghostly
Adventures, the tennis shoes and the loose laces,
and the one that almost no one likes. And thankfully, Sakurai apparently made it a point to be like, that wouldn't really work as well. We want to, for Smash Brothers, because it's classic characters, we need to use his classic look. So I guess it's from Pac-Land. Is that correct? Is it Pac-Land or Pac-Man World?
Pac-Land I think was the origin, but Pac-Man World is what we find, and that's like I looked at. I thought Pac-Man World,
but I think they specifically cited Pac-Land in the table. I'm pretty sure. So.
And it's a perfect feat. That when I think Pac-Man, that's what I think of. I mean, of course, I also think of the original Pac-Man, from the original arcade game, but. When I think of a more, a Pac-Man with more personality and the eyes and mouth, that's what I think of. And it's just the perfect fusion of kind of a modern, quality with the classic look. And the fact that he turns into his original form during his attacks, it's just fantastic. And, with this, we now have the 4 legendary gaming icons together, which is just the coolest thing, Imagine, telling your 10-year-old self that this would happen someday.
Right. That'd be pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Well, and Pac-Man eats dots too, when he sort of moves from point to point and changes in the classic form to dodge enemies and stuff. That's really great they incorporated that too.
Yeah, it looks awesome all around, and as part of that, they announced some stages as well. One based on Pac-Land for the Wii U, it seems like. The one that it looks like it's the classic arcade game for the 3DS. Which is interesting to me, because I think that that they broke it up in that way, that the 3DS one gets a classic arcade version. But yeah, I think that one looks awesome. I'm not too sure about the Pac-Land one for Wii U, but
that looked weird. There were some very odd screenshots when I looked at this. Like, what the hell is going on?
It looks really strange.
Because I've never played Pac-Land before.
I haven't either, but I've seen a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just wow. But I mean, it certainly captures your attention. That's for sure.
Yeah, and one screenshot that also stood out to me was Kirby's Pac-Man form. He looks so weird, but it works. It's great.
Yeah.
The little nose and everything. That was great.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if it is based what characters to include purely on how Kirby would look with those powers.
Basically, that's what they should do.
That's wonderful.
What did you guys think of Pac-Man's moveset from what we saw? Like, do you think he looks like a lot of fun to play as? Because I guess to me, like, I loved how he looked. But it's not anything like I would have expected it, really. And actually, I take that kind of back, because I kind of figured they'd have to do something that we didn't expect, to bring him into Smash Brothers. So, and they did.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sort of protect the pellets, but I couldn't have predicted him being able to aim it and like arc it in some different ways. Like I saw like up and around and stuff like that. It was really cool. The fire hydrant, which apparently is from Pac-Land, which go figure for that. I never would have predicted that. And then like his aerial recovery is that sort of they don't show it in the reveal trailer, but we saw it in Sakurai's match during the roundtable. It's sort of like this almost trampoline that you can use up to 3 times, and you bounce. I don't know if you bounce any higher, but you bounce the same amount, so you have sort of a timing thing where you don't have to go back right away, but you have a chance to go back. So all of his moves look very interesting, but obviously it's him pulling out the old 8-bit Namco characters and using them in some way is really cool.
Surprising, yeah.
I like what I saw. I assume it's his down smash where he pulls out 2 of the ghosts from Pac-Man to attack, from on either side of his body. And I thought that was hilarious. I assume it's his down smash.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. When I first saw it, I was like trying to tweet super fast. Like, it looked kind of like a counter, which it isn't. It doesn't seem to be, but it's a really unique, cool looking move. But yeah, it's interesting how they tied in these various like Pac-Man and Namco things into this game. Like he drops the fire hydrant from Pac-Land as one of his moves. Like it's pretty wild.
Well, seeing those 8-bit sprites in there, basically I love that sort of thing thrown in a 3D game.
Yeah,
same here.
It's always cool. Well, then they had the whole Game & Watch cameo too,
right? Yeah. Which we don't really know what that means. I mean, it's when they updated the site with Pac-Man, it's not like they updated with Mr. Game & Watch 2. So we don't know if that was kind of a just a tease or maybe a kind of a soft confirmation. We just really have no idea. Maybe we're reading too much into it.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that about anything Sakurai says or does.
True.
But, I mean, I ultimately think Game & Watch will be in the game. Well, and I think it was a tease.
Well, they were showing the same year for Game ' Watch as they were showing for Pac-Man. Maybe it's a passing of the torch to another character.
I don't like where this is going.
I don't think that's the case. But yeah, I mean, I saw, seeing Game & Watch there, I was like expecting him, like, how it's the Charizard reveal trailer. It showed him, and then it Sieg right at the Greninja. So I was just waiting for, okay, now his Game & Watch is revealed as well, and it didn't happen. So
I could maybe
that was an odd thing for me.
Maybe they didn't want to track anything from Pac-Man himself. I mean, not that it would a huge amount, but it would divert some attention.
That's true.
And this gives them another, official reveal they can do down the line. Basically confirm Game & Watch twice. Yeah. Get as much knowledge as they can out of that. So.
Well, and I could easily see that being like a clause in their agreement with Namco to be, same with Sega and Capcom. I'm sure, they wouldn't want their reveals, kind of mixed with anyone else either. Right. So I could see that actually being the case.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So I think that covers it pretty well for Pac-Man. Then we may touch on a few other things later. I want to know what you guys thought of the Smash, of the overall, Smash event, or the, the Smash roundtable. They covered a fair amount of ground within, the hour and 15 minutes. They had promised 90 minutes, and it wasn't quite that. So I don't know. For me, I guess, putting Pac-Man aside, I was maybe expecting a little bit more, maybe like another, maybe some veterans, for instance. I guess, potentially got Game & Watch. Yeah. But, I was expecting maybe just a little bit more.
A little bit more punch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, they did cover Smash Run a lot, but they already covered that a lot in the Direct, and it was playable on the show floor. So I'm like, come on, hurry, get through the Smash Run. I want to learn about more new stuff. So I don't know, but I thought the whole thing was overall great. But I was expecting just maybe another surprise or two.
Yeah, I mean, the Smash Run stuff I feel like has been beaten pretty well to death. I mean, there was a whole segment on it during the Invitational earlier.
Oh, yeah.
They're really trying to, just, sell Smash Run a lot. And
yeah, it's found its course.
And it's cool, but they don't really need to sell it. I mean, people are already going to buy the hell out of this game. So, I don't know. I was really intrigued by all the amiibo stuff and everything that's about the characters gaining experience and equipment. All that was interesting because it was all mostly new.
Yeah. Very much
but yeah, the Smash Run, we didn't really learn much that we didn't already know. So, that was kind of a drag, but I mean, surrounded by everything else, just, getting all this new information otherwise, and, the Q&A session with Sakurai was fun. So, yeah, I think mostly it was great, but yeah, that part dragged a little in the middle, which sounds like something else we dealt with this week, too.
The drag wasn't as bad.
That's true.
We were on comfy chairs. A long day of standing.
Yeah. Yes.
Good point.
Yeah. No, it was just a lot of pretty solid information overall. Like, nothing really that mind-blowing afterwards, but just nice, solid ideas. You got to see more of Smash Run. You got to see how it works. You learned about the equipable items and a better idea of how customization works, because it's not just... I mean, I think we kind of thought that customization would work in that you swap like the stats
but
moves with each character. That's not. They all have, like, it's each special move has 3 different variations. You have your classic variation, and then you have 2 others that sort of change how it works. And I believe one of them, like they showed, the one they focused on was Mario's Fireball, but they also showed like what his other moves did. And one of the things also the things they showed is like his cape would send out like a little wind gust thing. So it's really cool how they're changing it up and making it different. And you know, I didn't expect it to go, the customization to go that far and be that interesting to me, because like, you know, when they mentioned customization, I was like, well, I probably won't use it that much, but it is really cool what they did with it.
So on that point though, is it too much customization, too much complexity added on to Smash Brothers? Because I remember Andre saying with Mario Kart 8, for instance, like, I don't want to customize my cart, I just want to jump into the game.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So I know we'll be playing it for like the whole generation, but is that maybe something that would be better off in DLC later down the line, or do you think you guys will actually fill around with that much?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess for me, ultimately, like, I mean, like in the case of Mario Kart, you have to do it. Like, you have to choose those parts, so you can't get around it. And it's not a huge deal, but, I mean, I don't need that in my Mario Kart. Here, it looks like it's a completely optional thing, so if you don't like it, you have to use it. But, I mean, I will say I don't, I mean, I'll of course play around with it. Maybe I will like it. I can't see myself using it that much. I feel like I'll just stick with the main characters and play like normal have. But I'm curious about you, Ash, because you were telling me when we were playing, you know, Mario Maker, that you're not a huge fan of like creating like levels, at least.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and I would love to. I just don't really. I think you have to have a certain mentality, like a developer mentality, and I just don't. I love playing other levels that people create, but I just don't have the patience to really sit there and just tweak and you know, in small ways. And I totally admit it. But yeah, I feel the same way about you about all the the tweaked special moves and the amiibo stuff. I mean, I want those figures like hell, believe me.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people do, yeah.
But I can't really see myself really customizing the characters that much, because I already know the people I usually play with, like me and my friends locally, they're not going to bother with it.
Right.
And they're just going to want to play the game as, you know, as you would play online or with other people in a tournament. And none of that applies when you start tweaking your characters. So you don't want to get good at a version of a character that you can never use when it really counts, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think what made me more interested in the customization is the fact that it ties in pretty well with the figures, because you have your own figure player that you can use. You can't use them directly, but you sort of customize them, give them their own equipment, give them their own, change up their own stats and whatnot, and have them learn and grow as you play with them and increase their difficulty. So they're almost like a training tool for you to really get yourself ready for whatever challenge you might have. And I don't know, I thought that was a really cool idea, just to have that constant like challenge for you. Because when they said like it goes beyond level 9, we can go all the way up to level 50. I'm like,
or is it 15 or 50?
I think you said 50.
I heard 50 as well.
I heard 50 as well.
Yeah.
But there's something unsettling about that, because, you know, when you play against the AI in a game, it's something invisible and not quantifiable. It's like, oh, you know, the computer beat me.
Right.
But when you see this, you know, little figure that's not you know, taller than a few inches, and you realize that you lost to this computer chip inside this figure, it gets a little weirder. Like, man, the robot revolution. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
Depending on the cost, that could be a lot of smashed figurines and bouts of anger.
Yeah.
So I guess that does bring up a point. What do you guys think about them? Basically, as far as we know, locking that feature, you know, behind effectively a paywall, right? You have to buy these figurines in order to take advantage of this figure when you really don't need the figure. Like, they could make it so you don't need it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to carry it with you elsewhere, as readily at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't need the figure for them to incorporate what they're doing.
True, but I think part of the appeal lies in the fact that it is your figure and you can take it to a friend's house, but it is your thing. It's not, you know, I think Sakurai even quoted it perfect. I don't remember the exact quote, but he said that
a partner, I think.
Huh?
Right? Is that like a partner?
He said you can just get the ones you want.
Oh no! Like with the figures, he said they were. You know, the whole appeal of the figures is that it's like, yeah, your partner, like you were saying, like someone you're working with,
right?
Which is, so I think that's kind of part of the appeal with it.
Yeah, you go for your favorite. You could, if you only want to focus on your favorite, just focus on your favorite, and then you don't have to collect all of them. And yeah, it is a bit about behind a paywall, but I mean, this does sort of seem like a DLC feature.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessary. It's just sort of
it's something that they've never done before, right?
I think the only potential problem could arise if you know there's going to be a giant wall of unlocks like there is in every Sakurai game. The only potential problem could arise is if some of those unlocks are, you know, locked behind this whole part of the game. It would be like having achievements locked behind DLC.
That's a good one.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to be the case
Yeah, I don't
because they
think so.
said about taking the items you already unlock and giving it to them.
Yeah,
And
I doubt it.
so-
That doesn't seem like a very Nintendo move. I
It
don't
doesn't,
think
yeah.
they would do that. Yeah.
All right, so did anything else stand out from the from the direct? They covered you talked about Mii characters as well, and they covered a few other things, quite a few things really.
Yeah.
Did anything else stand out to you guys from the roundtable? I should say.
Green Ninja.
Oh yeah, well they did. That was kind of interesting. There was that question during the Q&A asking about how the character selection process works. With the X and Y having coming out so recently, how did they get Grey Ninja in there, or however you say it? And how he's like, well, we figured out the roster like from day one. Like we knew like what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And then then Sakurai had to basically invent a moveset because all they had were like drawings to go off of.
basically.
Just concept art.
Right.
And I'd say he did a great job.
Yeah.
He worked closely with the developers, got a sense for the character, and it's amazing that Greninja is a very popular Pokemon from X and Y, and it's really incredible they were able to point out like, okay, I think this one will stand out, and they go based off that. Because what if he was just incredibly unpopular? But no, as soon as Greninja was revealed in X and Y, he was immediately the favorite of all the final evolutions for the starters. So great taste.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Sakurai didn't quite say that the Pokemon company had given him the notes in a bar napkin, but it kind of sounded that way for Greninja.
I think it was also interesting that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I thought it was also interesting that the Mii fighters were. We found out that they're not playable online.
Yeah,
they're playable with friends, but not for glory or with anyone.
Right.
So basically, they're seen as an addition to the roster, but with an asterisk. It's like because you can tweak them so much. I guess they're worried that kind of ruins the balance potentially.
Wasn't it for bullying reasons too?
And that too, which I actually think was really interesting.
Yeah, he really didn't want the bullying to happen, and then you just come on, we know people. There's always going to be that one person that's going to do an offensive figure and find some way.
But we've already seen that in Mario Kart though.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
But I guess it's a little different when you're having people beat up
each other.
Characters beat up one another.
Right.
I mean, with all the rampant racism and sexism online, it would happen.
That's true.
It's not like you can really clearly see the Mii. I think they almost solved the problem by putting the helmet on. You can't see the Mii. So it's only the back of his head.
True.
So.
Yeah, the whole thing's kind of weird. It's because not having them available in an important mode in the game almost makes it seem like an afterthought. But then again, when I think back to Brawl, I barely play online because it didn't work most of the time.
Yeah.
And so effectively, it doesn't change that much, assuming it's the same thing. And along those lines, someone actually asked about the online. Basically, I summarized her question as, "Does it work?" in my my tweets. Yeah. But Sakurai, kind of danced around it a little bit at first, but then he addressed it not in a super promising way.
Get a faster internet connection.
That was it.
Make sure your stuff's good.
Get better internet. And the way, he did describe a bit of it because how he compared it to Mario Kart, where in Mario Kart it's asynchronous, which the translator had difficulties with translating. And it basically what that means is you can play the game locally, and you don't need all the information from everyone else at the same time. The game can fudge what's going on, and so it doesn't have to be exact. Whereas in a game like Smash Brothers or any fighting game, really, it has to be exact. So if you miss if it misses any data, the game has to slow down until that data arrives, and you can't fudge that stuff with Smash Brothers.
And as chaotic as Smash Brothers can get with items, with 4 characters, with Final Smashes, with everything else, it makes sense. But it does sound like they are working toward making the online much better, and I think they'll pull it off this time. At least I really hope so.
Yeah. One other thing that did stand out in a bad way, but ended up being awesome, was there was a stupid little kid who called himself a Smash Brothers tournament organizer.
He's probably listening to this right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? Too bad. The tournament organizer and commentator, or whatever that means, and asked Sakurai, "Hey, if I can beat you in a for glory match, can I have a hand in balancing the game?" And it was just such a smarmy dick move, but Sakurai's response was perfect. Instead of being polite and be like, "Oh, sorry, I can't. We can't do that right now." Next question, he was like, "Have you ever designed a game?" And the whole room erupted in laughter and applause. Yeah. And he could have dropped the mic right there and left. It was great. I mean, he totally shut that kid down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that kid doesn't work till 10 or 12 midnight, every day.
Yeah. I don't think he wants to do that. And that's actually interesting. You mentioned that he wanted to join the balancing team because Sakurai did mention there's a question about the balancing, and he said that they are trying to do as best as they can to get this to be as balanced as possible, but they got to sort of take into consideration, you got to take newcomers as well as veterans. If you appeal only to the veterans, then you're limiting your appeal there, and you're making it so technical it just doesn't work out. So you have to have a bit more of a slightly more casual focus, so you can bring in those newcomers and they can pick up the game and still have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are definitely giving it a lot more thought this time, because in Brawl, Smash Brothers 1 and Melee, it was Sakurai by himself. With Brawl, it became a 4-person team. Now with 3DS and Wii U, it's a 12-person team. So they are definitely focusing on this. And it's interesting.
And another thing that was interesting was that, kind of on the same note, was that they were talking about the main reasons for releasing the 3DS and Wii U versions a couple months apart, and they were talking about the main reason actually is debugging, because especially these new Smash games, there's so much going on, there's so many possibilities, variables, things that can go wrong. There's a ton of debugging to do, and they said they have 700 people only on debugging alone between the two versions.
Did they say
I
700?
think it's several hundred.
I heard 700.
Yeah, no,
oh,
I
okay,
think
it was several hundred then. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a lot.
It's still a lot of people.
That's over 100 people. That's a lot.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, that's still a lot of people, and it really does kind of go to show how much content is actually in these games.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Like even it's like when we break down these trailer analysis, even like it actually does make you appreciate more so like how much content are in these games. Like where I will spend. Sometimes like a full 24 hours.
Yeah. How many months this year till we get a Smash analysis?
Hopefully not 6 months this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with Mario Kart, you're just breaking down those tracks, and for me it takes a fraction of time to take a minuscule amount of time compared to how long they take designing it. But just make you appreciate how much work goes into these. Like for me, like breaking down 5 tracks, I'm like, my God, it's gonna take me forever to break down 5 tracks. I can only imagine how long it took to design those, and that applies to characters and stages of Smash Brothers. There's so much content in these games. Now speaking of actually mounting employees, Sakurai mentioned that they have, I think, 12 people balancing the game this time. Like,
Yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mentioned that. But yeah, so it's really impressive what they're trying to do. It does seem like a massive project. A lot of people work on this to try to get it as good as possible. And from what we've seen so far, they're succeeding.
Yeah.
And played.
And I guess the last thing that really stood out to me with regard to Pac-Man is that now the Gematsu leak has been further cemented. That guy's 7 for 7 now. 6
He's
or
on
6
a
or
roll.
7 for 7.
Yeah.
Either way, he's 100%.
Right.
And that means that if everything from his first leak is now confirmed. So now we have the second leak to go, and if he continues to be right, that means we pretty much have Shulk from Xenoblade, Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening, and the Chorus Kids from Rhythm Heaven to look forward to, which I'm looking forward to all 3. But if that's the case, and so far it does seem to be legit.
Yeah, and it's the guy's good. I've always expressed doubt in that discussion, but the guy's on it. But I think I don't think it'll be just those 3 announced because he never listed Rosalina, so there could still be some unknowns that he didn't.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, there could still be more, even more
of. So who knows? I mean, we could expect. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and October.
Well, and that's actually another great point. Maybe not a great point, but I mean, October's not summer.
No.
So they did sneak in a little bit of a delay there for the 3DS one.
Yeah.
It's actually ultimately going to be much closer to the Wii U's release than we expected originally. I mean, they're effectively only a month apart, assuming Wii U comes out in November.
Yeah.
Which
it probably will too for the Thanksgiving shopping holiday.
Yeah.
So probably November 21st. That's the big Nintendo day.
That's it. So it's not that big of a gap even.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, kind of for the best. Everybody gets their little taste of 3DS and mobile and all that.
Right.
And they
move on to the real version.
The main course.
I mean, honestly, after playing the 2 games, the 2 versions quite extensively, they almost do feel like 2 separate games. They don't feel like ports of the same game. They feel like 2 totally different projects.
Yeah, they very much do.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I haven't played a ton of the 3DS one yet, nor the Wii U one, but it's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is we've been playing with Wavebirds for years, pretty much. Now we have to go to the 3DS nub, and it's like, what's this? It's slow.
They really need just some kind of some terrible Frankenstein cradle that enables only Wavebirds. I'd use it though. I'd use
I would.
it. Yep.
I will say the first match I had on the 3DS version, I definitely had trouble with. The second match, I got accustomed to it pretty quickly. Maybe that's because I don't have the muscle memory from years of playing like you do, Andre. But I did get a handle on it. I felt it felt very smooth. Maybe a little bit slower. I have not tried the Wii U version, but the 3DS version did feel a little slow, but not bad at all. I mean, it was definitely, still impressive, still fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really enjoyed it from what I played. Just need to play more.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's it, and we'll actually have a separate discussion for our gameplay time with Smash Brothers and the other games from the show floor. Once we've played more and we know more about it, there's a ton to talk about in that game.
Yeah.
Well, any final points at all, or anything you guys want to talk about regarding the roundtable that we haven't mentioned yet?
The only thing I can think of is that we said appetizer and main course for the 3DS and Wii U, and I think that's definitely been displayed at E3 because there is very little lines for the 3DS version, and there's plenty of units. I think that helps a lot, but the Wii U version is definitely the more popular option as far as convention goers.
Right.
It's cool that you can swap your data in between the 3DS and Wii U versions, although that they can't really say how it's done yet isn't too reassuring.
Yeah, that was a little odd, how they're being totally coy, with how the character transfers work.
What's that thing from Banjo-Kazooie? Stop and swap?
Indeed. Alright, I think that wraps up our Smash Brothers roundtable discussions, though. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for tons more on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS, and tons more from the E3 show floor as well, in case you haven't had enough yet, because we're not done. Alright, thanks, guys. Bye.